When the basement door closed, there was no sound. Then the gunshots started. It lasted 17 minutes. What did Anastasia Romanov think in those final minutes? Welcome to Secret Stories, where we uncover the hidden moments that shaped history. Today we step into the basement of Ipatiev House on the night of July 16, 1918. A night that would end a dynasty and create one of history's most haunting mysteries. What happened in those 17 minutes? What went through the mind of a 17-year-old girl as everything she knew came to an end? This is the story no one dared to tell. July 1918. Yekaterinburg, Russia. The world outside was burning. Revolution had torn the country apart. The Romanov family, once the most powerful dynasty in the world, was now locked inside a two-story house with barred windows. They called it Ipatiev House. The locals called it the House of Special Purpose. No one said what that purpose was, but everyone knew. Anastasia Romanov woke up that morning like any other. She was 17 years old. Her hair was dark, her eyes bright. She had spent the last 78 days in this house, watching the walls close in. Her father, Tsar Nicholas, no longer wore his uniform. Her mother, Alexandra, spent most days in bed, her health failing. Her brother Alexei, only 13, was too weak to walk most days. Her three sisters, Olga, Tatiana, and Maria, tried to keep spirits up. But the air in the house felt heavy, like waiting for a storm that never came. The guards had changed recently. The new ones were different, colder. They did not speak to the family anymore. They did not look them in the eye. Anastasia noticed. She always noticed. She had grown up in palaces where every glance meant something. And these glances meant danger. That afternoon, Anastasia sat by the window. She could see a sliver of sky through the wooden boards. She wondered what the world looked like now. Did people still dance? Did they still sing? Or had the revolution swallowed all of that too? Her sister Maria sat beside her sewing. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing left to say. They had already said goodbye to the life they knew. Now they were just waiting. But waiting for what? Anastasia touched the inside of her dress. She felt the hard edges beneath the fabric. Diamonds, rubies, emeralds. She and her sisters had sewn them into the linings of their clothes weeks ago. If they were ever moved again, if they were ever released, they would need money. The jewels were their insurance, their last thread of hope. But the weight of the stones felt different now. Not like hope. Like a burden she could not put down. Dinner that night was quiet. The family sat together at a small table. Bread, soup, nothing more. The guards watched from the doorway. Anastasia looked at her father. His face was calm, but his hands trembled slightly as he held his spoon. He knew, she could see it in his eyes. He knew something was coming, but he said nothing. He never did. He had stopped being a czar the moment they took his crown. Now he was just a father trying to protect his children, and failing. After dinner, the family went to their rooms. Anastasia shared a bed with her sister Maria. They lay in the darkness, listening to the sounds of the house. Footsteps above, voices in the hallway, the creak of old wood. Maria fell asleep quickly, but Anastasia could not. Her mind was racing. She thought about the letters she used to write, the gardens she used to walk in, the life she used to have. It felt like a dream now, distant and unreal. She closed her eyes and tried to remember the smell of roses. But all she could smell was the damp walls of Ipatiev House. Just after midnight, there was a knock on the door. Anastasia sat up. Her heart was pounding. Maria stirred beside her. The door opened. It was Yurovsky, the commandant. His face was stone. He said the family needed to come downstairs immediately. There was unrest in the town, he said. White army forces were approaching. The family needed to move to the basement for their safety, until things calmed down. Anastasia looked at her father. He nodded. They dressed quickly. Anastasia pulled on the same dress she had been wearing for weeks, the one with the jewels sewn inside. It was heavy, so heavy. Her mother needed help walking. Her brother Alexei could not walk at all. Her father carried him. They moved through the dark hallway like shadows. No one spoke. The only sound was the shuffle of feet and the rasp of labored breathing. The stairs to the basement were narrow and steep. Anastasia held the railing. Her legs felt weak. She did not know why. Fear, maybe, or instinct. Animals know when something is wrong. Humans do too. They just do not always listen. But Anastasia was listening now. Every nerve in her body was screaming, but there was nowhere to go. No door to run through. No window to climb out of. So she kept walking. One step, then another, until she reached the bottom. The basement room was small, maybe 13 feet by 13 feet. The walls were bare. The floor was wooden. There were no chairs. Yurovsky said chairs would be brought. He left. The family stood in silence. Anastasia stayed close to her father. Her mother leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Alexei sat on the floor. Her sisters huddled together. Minutes passed. Then chairs arrived. 2 of them. Her mother sat in one. Alexei sat in the other. Everyone else remained standing. More minutes passed. Anastasia's feet ached. The jewels in her dress pressed against her ribs. She shifted her weight. Her father looked at her. He did not say anything, but his eyes said everything. "I am sorry. I could not protect you. I tried." Anastasia wanted to tell him it was not his fault, that he had done everything he could. But the words stayed in her throat. Then the door opened again. Yurovsky entered. This time he was not alone. 11 men followed him. They filled the doorway. They filled the room. Suddenly the basement felt even smaller, suffocating. Yurovsky held a piece of paper in his hand. He began to read. His voice was flat, emotionless. He said the Ural Executive Committee had decided that Nicholas Romanov and his family were to be executed, effective immediately. Anastasia did not understand at first. The words did not make sense. Executed immediately. Her father stood up. He started to say something. What? Anastasia would never know, because that was when the first gunshot rang out. The sound was deafening. The room exploded into chaos. Smoke filled the air. Anastasia could not see, could not breathe. She felt herself falling. Her knees hit the floor. Pain shot through her legs, but it was not from a bullet. Not yet. She heard screaming. Was it her mother? Her sisters? She could not tell. The gunshots kept coming, rapid, endless. The walls seemed to shake. Anastasia pressed her hands over her ears, but the sound was inside her now. In her bones. In her skull. She tried to crawl. Toward what she did not know. Away from the noise. Away from the smoke. Her dress caught on something. The jewels. They were so heavy. She could not move. She looked up. Through the haze she saw shapes, bodies. Her father was on the ground. His eyes were open but empty. Her mother had slumped forward in her chair. Anastasia reached out. Her fingers grazed her mother's hand. It was still warm. But it did not move. Another gunshot. This one was close. Too close. Anastasia felt the impact. But there was no pain. The bullet had hit the jewel sewn into her dress. The diamonds deflected it. She heard it ricochet off the wall. Then another. And another. The men were shouting now, confused, angry. Why were the bullets not working? They did not know about the jewels. No one knew. Anastasia lay still. She did not move, did not breathe. She closed her eyes. Maybe if she stayed still, they would think she was already dead. Maybe they would leave. But they did not leave. She heard footsteps, heavy boots on the wooden floor. Coming closer. She felt a hand grab her shoulder, rough, forceful. She was turned over. She opened her eyes. A man stood above her. His face was young, younger than she expected. He looked frightened. His hands were shaking. He raised his bayonet. Anastasia stared at him. She did not scream. She did not beg. What was the point? There was nowhere to go, no one to save her. So she just looked at him, into his eyes. And for a moment, just a moment, she saw something there. Hesitation, regret, but only for a moment. Then the bayonet came down. She felt it, sharp, cold, piercing her chest, her side, her neck, again and again. The jewels could not stop this. She tried to breathe, but her lungs would not fill. Blood pooled in her mouth, warm and metallic. She thought about the roses again, the gardens, the letters, the life she would never have. She thought about her father, her mother, her sisters, her brother. Were they already gone? Or were they still here, suffering like she was? She did not know how much time passed. Seconds, minutes, hours, it all felt the same. Darkness crept in from the edges of her vision. The pain began to fade, not because it was gone, but because she was leaving. Her body was still there on the cold basement floor, but she was somewhere else now, somewhere quieter, somewhere the gunshots could not reach, and then nothing. The basement was silent again. The smoke cleared. The men stood in the aftermath, breathing hard. Their clothes were stained. Their hands were trembling. One of them vomited in the corner. Another sat on the floor staring at the wall. Yurovsky barked orders. "Clean it up! Move the bodies, hurry!" The sun would be up soon. The bodies were wrapped in sheets, loaded onto a truck, driven into the forest. It was still dark when they reached the clearing. The men dug. Not graves, just a pit, deep enough to hide what they had done. The bodies were thrown in. Gasoline was poured over them. A match was lit. Flames rose into the night sky, but the fire did not consume everything. Bones remained, teeth, fragments of fabric, evidence. The men panicked. They tried to crush the bones. They used shovels, rifle butts, anything they could find. Then they poured acid over what was left, sulfuric acid. It hissed and smoked. The smell was unbearable. Finally, they covered the pit with dirt, logs, branches, anything to hide it. Then they left, and the forest swallowed the secret. For 73 years, no one knew where the Romanov family had been buried. Rumors spread. Some said Anastasia had escaped, that she had survived, that she was living somewhere in Europe under a false name. A woman named Anna Anderson claimed to be Anastasia for decades. She had scars that matched, memories that seemed real. Some people believed her, others did not. But the truth remained buried, hidden beneath the dirt and the lies and the acid. In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. Russia began to open old wounds. A local historian named Alexander Avdonin had spent years searching for the burial site. He had read reports, studied maps, interviewed witnesses, and finally, in a forest outside Yekaterinburg, he found it. 9 skeletons, buried in a shallow grave. The bones were damaged, burned, broken, but they were there. DNA tests were conducted. The bones belonged to Tsar Nicholas, Tsarina Alexandra, 3 of their daughters, and 4 members of their household staff. But 2 bodies were missing, Alexei and one of the daughters. For years, no one knew which daughter. Some said Anastasia, others said Maria. The mystery remained. Then in 2007, another grave was found, just 70 feet from the first. 2 more skeletons, smaller, younger, more DNA tests. This time the results were clear. The skeletons belonged to Alexei and Maria, which meant the body found in 1991 was Anastasia. She had been there all along, in the first grave, waiting to be found. On July 17, 1998, 80 years to the day after their deaths, the Romanov family was finally laid to rest. Their remains were buried in the Peter and Paul Cathedral in St. Petersburg, the same place where Russian tsars had been buried for 300 years. Thousands attended the ceremony, priests, dignitaries, descendants of the Romanov family. The coffins were small, so small, because after everything that had been done to them, there was not much left. But Anastasia was home. People still ask what she thought in those final minutes. Did she understand what was happening? Did she feel betrayed? Angry, afraid, or did she find some kind of peace in the darkness? No one will ever know. The only witnesses were the men who killed her, and most of them took their secrets to the grave. But maybe that is the point. Maybe some things are not meant to be known. Maybe some moments are too sacred, too painful, too human. What we do know is this: Anastasia Romanov was 17 years old. She loved her family. She dreamed of a future she would never see. And in the basement of Ipatiev House, on the night of July 16, 1918, she faced the end with a courage most of us will never need. She did not run. She did not hide. She stayed with the people she loved. And when the darkness came, she did not go alone. 17 minutes. That is how long it took. 17 minutes to end a dynasty. 17 minutes to erase a family. 17 minutes that would haunt Russia for a century. And in those 17 minutes, a 17-year-old girl lost everything. Her past, her future, her name, but she did not lose her story, because we are still telling it. We are still remembering. And as long as we do, Anastasia Romanov will never truly be gone. This has been Secret Stories. If this story moved you, leave a comment below. What do you think Anastasia felt in those final moments? And if you want more untold histories, subscribe and turn on notifications, because some stories deserve to be remembered. No matter how painful they are,